This presentation is for Current Trends in Instructional Technology final paper. Technology and blended learning is alive and well and here to stay. It is my proposal and assertion that over the next 10 years, our educational institutions' pedagogy will be cruising full sail ahead, implementing and providing for blended learning to be fully integrated into the daily classroom routine across the United States. Since the implementation of the newly mandated Common Core state standards, there was a greater emphasis in the role that digital resources will play in our educational system. The Common Core standards don't just suggest novel technology used as a way to engage students, but rather requires learners to make complex decisions about how, when, and why to use technology, something educators must do as well. Every school district needs a long-term goal. I envision the next 10 years to be about transitions. Blended learning does not simply mean adding new equipment to the classroom. It has many stages to pass through to make it successful and meaningful to teachers, students, and the community. So what long-term goals should the school districts be addressing and focusing on at this juncture? First, they must address the issue of the technology itself. What types of technology do they need to purchase that will best promote, complement, and complete their vision? Next, they must address the issue of how to train their staff and faculty in the use of their newly acquired technologies. Finally, the issue of implementation of these technologies into the classroom must also be focused upon. The school district at which I work has been adding a great deal of new technologies in our schools on a yearly basis. Now, with the upsurge and advancement that technology has taken in recent years, we have really begun to go high-tech. Well, at least from the standard of our district, it's high-tech. All this having been said, we must realize that transitioning to blended learning does not simply mean adding new equipment to the classroom. It has many stages to go through and pass through. And once again, I said, to be successful and meaningful to teachers and students and the community. Technology and teaching seem to be natural bedfellows. Anyone with any type of insight and knowledge about technology can see the potential that it affords to the teacher and the student in the classroom. There are several factors that make technology in the classroom work and be an asset to both groups. First, teachers' input as to what technologies fit best in their particular area of teaching and with their particular students. You should first do your homework and research. What is out there for you? And there's a lot out there. All you have to do is go on the internet and look. The next thing we must keep in mind is to allow teachers to remain in the loop. They say that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, with teachers this may hold true a lot. And it may seem that teachers seem wary or reluctant with regard to a hasty implementation of technologies in the classroom. But who better knows the students than the teacher? Thus, it is logical that school districts first gather data from their own faculty to get input about what types of technology that would work best and benefit them as facilitators and the students as learners and participants. There are numerous factors that teachers feel need to be addressed before they are willing to jump on the technology bandwagon. Teachers are often reluctant to be involved in any change within the classroom environment that is mandated by policy or law without consultation or input from teachers themselves. Successful introduction of classroom technology depends on teachers' active engagement in the entire process. First of all, show me the money. The question of initial and outgoing funds is of great importance. Teachers want to know how their environment will be financially impacted by these initiatives. Fads fade. Technology will continue to change at an ever-increasing rate. Teachers must see that technology is an enabler and not just an end result. And time keeps on ticking. Time is a major concern of teachers. They simply don't have enough of it. How will the planning, the implementation, and ongoing change affect their schedules and active teaching time? Technology and its use in education. There are three concepts that stand out: the system, the teacher, and the student. Technology is not neutral. It is always designed to influence behavior. Data collection, drill and practice test, preparation, computerized assessment, or monitoring Common Core compliances are examples of the computer benefiting the system. Interactive whiteboards, presentation information, or managing whole class simulations are an example of computing for the teacher. The third vision is a progressive one. The technology should be used to amplify human potential, and technology should keep the learner at the center of the educational experience and allow them to learn at their own pace. There are some things to remember, though. While flexible, high-quality hardware is critical, educational computing is about software. There are 5 actions for helping students learn: simulation, drill, practice, games, and problem solving. Educational software can be useful tools to aid and facilitate learning in the classroom. It has many multiple purposes, like increasing students' motivation by making learning more fun. Educational software is not meant to be standalone. It is meant to be used in conjunction with and to enhance classroom curriculums. Educational software is a tool to be used to facilitate higher knowledge and to promote a higher order thinking process. Technologies and teacher training. This is extremely important. Successful implementation for blended learning means proper teacher training. Now, ever since the 1970s, Silicon Valley's visionaries stated that their industry would change the classroom, and they have sold a lot of technology to schools on the back of that. But unfortunately, not too much has changed in teaching over the past 20 years. Sure, we have computers in the classroom, and in my particular district, we are lucky if we have 4 computers in the classroom. But presently, the bulk of their use is to do research and typing essays. The reason for this may lie in the fact that the classroom teacher has not been given proper training in how to be creative with regard to using the new technologies. Therefore, their confidence level is not high enough for them to feel comfortable using it. Sure, there are attempts. There may be those half-day trainings on how the Promethean board works and a brief insight into what you can do with it. However, we all know that without putting time into learning something new, especially new technologies, how can we really understand and utilize them to their fullest potential? The matter of proper training is extremely important to teachers for several reasons. In the past, new technologies have been introduced with little or no training for teachers, who are then expected to successfully use them. The outcome was a very limited success rate or complete failure. Although teachers use technology widespread, the technologies are generally used to complete basic tasks, such as emails and document creation and things like that. Students, on the other hand, are immersed in technology and use it for everything with extreme confidence. Therefore, training must focus on the delivery of technology and learning solutions, not just the underlying technology itself. A teacher's credibility and effectiveness is at risk when they are put into a position of introducing technologies that they aren't familiar with nor comfortable with, unlike their students who are natives to the digital world. Then there is the issue of time. When will the training take place? How long will the process take? Then there are the facets of what the district faces is finances. And we all know that there is never enough money. Then how will the teacher get the training that they need? Well, once again, unfortunately, the burden is left to the teacher. The teacher must learn, most likely, on their own time. And which one of us has that much free time to give? Technology and teaching and implementation. How do we implement technology into our daily mantras? As mentioned earlier in the 70s, and when they stated that their industry would change the school world, well, finally we see their vision as reality coming full forward throttle. So now we can see that the use of technology is making a shift into viable, productive, creative, and necessary tools to be used in our American classrooms. But the question is, how do we implement their use into our daily mantras? Technology and its implementation may sound like an extremely intimidating proposition, but do not fear, it doesn't have to be that big a deal. There are some basics that you can revert to in order to begin using technology for daily lesson plans. You can use technology, for example, for merely the basics. There's no more paper or pencil, so the students use the laptops or desktop stations to complete their written work and take exams, and to do their researches. You can also help students develop their own individual skills using technology. Learning how to type properly, perhaps, can be a lesson in and of itself. Then you can also initiate solo projects that allow students to shine. Give them a topic and let them just run with it and be creative. This can also be the philosophy for group projects creativity. The students will love it, and in addition, as a group project, these group assignments are awesome for helping individuals develop communication, interpersonal, team building, and problem-solving skills. You have to also remember that not all classrooms function the same. Then we step into the realm of games and virtual simulations, which can promote good learning. And what do we consider to be good learning? That may be a subjective question, but I think all of us probably believe that it lies somewhere in the fact that students collaborating and discussing ideas with possible solutions. Also, project-based learning, designed around real-world contexts. Connecting with other students around the world on topics of study, and immersing students in a learning experience that allows them to grapple with a problem, gaining higher order thinking skills from pursuing the solution. It is becoming increasingly apparent that games and virtual simulations are actually promoting good learning while being fun. In the past, noted games and simulations were used for training purposes for the government or corporations. But what is training but another form of educational learning? So, if the government and corporations have used games for their educational purposes, then we know they work, because these two groups are always on the cutting edge. That's why it's not surprising in our current atmosphere in education, these technologies are being viewed as safe and valuable tools that must be taken seriously for school use. Then we must understand, just don't allow the software to take control. Teachers are still teachers, and technologies are merely tools. Tools can provide, first of all, more personalized education. They could offer differentiation. They can offer more variety. And the only thing that's different possibly is the teacher is now the coach. At its heart is the idea is moving from one-size-fits-all education to a more personalized approach, with technology allowing each child to be targeted at a different speed. In some cases by adaptive computer programs, in others by superstar lecturers, perhaps virtual simulations, or games of one sort or another. While new, the job of classroom teachers moves from lecturer to coach. In conclusion, I'd like to remind you of some things to remember. We have to remember that at the district level, we must have a goal. We must give our teachers the support and training they need and implement all types of technology into our classroom. And this all leads to blended learning. As it was stated earlier, the implementation of the Common Core standards is going to have a great impact upon the use of technology in our schools, because now it is law. And every standard is written into it how technology should be evidenced in the lesson. Therefore, we must get with the program and embrace and leap into the concept of technology in education. And what that implies to us, in other words, is blended learning. Thank you for your time.